Hi, I'm Sudhanshu Mittal from Computer Vision Group at University of Freiburg. I will present my work on class incremental learning titled as Essentials for Class Incremental Learning. This work is done with my colleagues Silvio Galesso and Professor Thomas Brox. In class incremental learning, the objective is to learn a unified classifier over incrementally occurring sets of classes. Like shown here, the new task T contains data from the new set of classes, and the model is expected to classify all the classes seen so far. Since all the incremental data cannot be retained for unified training, the major challenge is to avoid forgetting previous classes while learning the new ones. To avoid forgetting, one of the successful approaches is to store exemplars from the old classes and replay them while learning the new classes. There are three crucial components in a class incremental learning system. Firstly, selection of informative exemplars from old classes. Secondly, a forgetting constraint to retain previous knowledge while learning the new task. Thirdly, a balanced system that balances learning with old and new classes. So in this work, we utilize simple approaches for each component, such as we select exemplars randomly from respective classes. We use the common standard knowledge isolation loss for forgetting constraint. And in this work, we propose a balanced system which uses separate activations for old and new tasks. In this work, we focus on two challenges. Firstly, tackling this large bias in the class vectors, which is caused due to class imbalance between old and new classes. Secondly, the catastrophic forgetting, where previous weights are overwritten when learning the new task. In this work, the goal is to identify the underlying reasons behind these challenges and resolve them using simple approaches. First, let's look at the bias challenge. In a standard setting, we can add extra new nodes to the classifier layer for the new classes. This results in large bias in class vectors due to the class imbalance between the new and old classes. This bias can be clearly seen in the bar plot, which shows the L2 norms of the old and new class vectors. Now to rectify this bias, we propose a separate softmax system which uses balanced activations for old and new classes. We notice that this considerably reduces the bias, as we see in the figure on the right. Another reason for this bias is the distribution shift during the incremental step. To counter the distribution shift, we employ a standard technique of lowering the learning rate when learning the new task. We find that the combination of using a separate softmax system and reducing learning rate can substantially reduce the bias, shown in the last set of bar plots. Now we look at the second challenge of catastrophic forgetting. We experimentally show that overfitting of the model leads to higher catastrophic forgetting. As the model is trained longer on the base task, the model starts to overfit, and the incremental learning performance monotonically decreases. In this study, we also found that the secondary information decreases as the network overfits more. Secondary information, also referred to as dark knowledge, denotes the non-target scores of the classifier, which is crucial for knowledge isolation loss. Now to counter overfitting, we examine various regularizers like self-distillation and label smoothing, which are well known to reduce overfitting and improve validation performance. We found that label smoothing and mix-up, despite their proven regularization effects, harm secondary class information and class incremental learning performance. On the other hand, self-distillation and data augmentation enhance secondary class information and also boost incremental learning performance. So from this study, we find a strong correlation between secondary class information and the class incremental learning performance. Finally, we show results on three benchmarks: C400, ImageNet 100, and full ImageNet dataset. Our CCIL model shows competitive performance on all three benchmarks. Our regularized model, referred to as CCIL ST with self-distillation, further closes the gap to the joint rating and achieves the best performance. So to conclude, in this work, we presented a straightforward class incremental learning system that focuses on essential components. This makes it a good base model for future research. We showed that simple techniques can substantially resolve the bias and improve the incremental learning performance. We showed that overfitting is one of the factors responsible for forgetting. We further showed that boosting secondary information can be the key to mitigate forgetting and ensure efficient transfer learning. I would like to thank all the people who contributed to the project and the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research for supporting the project. Thank you.